Welcome everyone to Clarity Talks. And we're on the air and Allie is in a different location this morning because we had a little technical issue, but I'm Dr. J.
Allie, and we are on Clarity Talks, where we get to do what, Jess?
We get to crack the code with some of the most successful people in our community who share their tricks and their tracks in order to help us and others who are watching this podcast level up, scale, and move the needle forward. So today we have an amazing guest, and Allie, I'm going to let you go ahead and introduce our famous Kristian Baso.
Hey.
Welcome, Chris. Welcome. It's a pleasure to having you on the show. I can't wait to hear everything that you have to, share with us, not only for ourselves, for our community that is always hungry to hear new things and how people like yourself got to where you are today. So we're just going to go over a couple of quick questions and have fun while we're at it. Sounds good?
That sounds great. Let's go.
Awesome. All right. I said we dive in, Jess.
All right. So, Chris, can you share a little bit of the golden nuggets of your background just to give the audience an idea of whom they are hearing from today?
Sure, Jess. First and foremost, it's an honor. Thank you, number one. Number two, anybody who knows me, this is a story that's been being told for well over in about 20 years now. With me owning various businesses and employing people, I'm kind of known for, in my company, even to this day, for my morning meetings and my morning motivational meetings, right? So, and I always go into every meeting or every discussion with the same idea that most people are very similar to me, and that if I can do it, others can as well, right? So, and when you guys asked me to start with my background and take you guys to where I've gotten today, and by the way, for the record, I'm still not done yet. There's a lot more to do. I will say that I definitely, if you know anything about me, and people can verify this, I didn't grow up in the best of environments, right? I was born and raised in Staten Island, New York. I was actually born in the projects, public housing in New York City. And, from a life that never going to say I'm ashamed of, I'm completely grateful for my life. But during a childhood, coming into adulthood, I went from being a convicted felon at the age of 18 to becoming a millionaire by the age of 27. For me, what worked in my life and what I owe all credit to, first and foremost, is my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. I mean, for me, I know, and in my morning meetings, when we do morning prayer, I don't care what you pray to. You could pray to a light bulb. I fear people who aren't religious because it's the type of person that you want to do business with, right? If you have somebody that doesn't fear consequences of a higher power, then I have no shot at winning with you in business. I received my master's degree in the Fulton Fish Market.
I saw that. Okay. That was super cool.
Yeah. And if you're anybody who knows what the Fulton Fish Market, it literally was the home of all the criminals and the 5 mafia families of New York. Right. And, for me, it was the greatest place in the world to get your education, to learn about people, to learn how to survive. Years of psychology has taught me that somebody like me who has a paranoid sense of reality in the world, because of the way I grew up, I noticed the details and things. From there, and this is a true story, I met my ex-wife while working in the Fulton Fish Market. She lived right there in Knickerbocker Village in downtown Manhattan. And from there, we used to go to Washington Square Park, lay out on a blanket. And I told her one of my goals was to learn to read. Now, I'm not going to say I couldn't read CAT, C-A-T. I understand. What I didn't understand as a kid, and I don't know how I made it through high school, reading comprehension. I couldn't comprehend anything I read because I didn't understand proper grammar. I didn't know what commas were for and that I needed to pause and that the period ended the sentence. It was stuff like that that made my comprehension difficult for me. So I could read words, I just couldn't comprehend anything that I was reading, right? So learning to read at the age of 21, some sort of spiritual epiphany taking place between my mother and myself, my mother picking me up from prison one day and taking me to in Staten Island, which as an adult, I later learned what it was, because as a kid, I really didn't have God in my life. I wasn't raised with God in my life. We all wore a cross growing up as kids out there, but I didn't even understand what it stood for, right? And my mother, who, God rest her, she's she is who she is. She's a strong woman who had me at the age of 16 years old. My mother was just a violent woman. And, there was no love growing up. She got us prepared, me and my sister, to grow up the street way. And make a long story short, she picks me up. She's acting weird and crazy, a way I never seen her act before. And she takes me to this place in Staten Island. It's called the Grotto. Grotto is an area that was dedicated by all the people that lived there. They put statues and candles, and it was off a little property off the side of the church there. And my mother brings me to her, and she's screaming at me, "You got to get down. You got to get down. Kneel before." And I remember her crying. I never seen my mother cry before. And she says, "Jesus, please, I didn't bring my son into this world so he could be this way. Please, you got to get into his life." And I didn't know what she was doing. I thought she was cuckoo at that very moment. And I went back to life. I went back to the Fulton Fish Market. I had I eventually got an apartment in Manhattan, and I went back to doing very, very bad things and living a life of a hustler to survive. Lo and behold, one day I just come home from the fish market. I walked down the street. I lived on 33 Gold Street in Manhattan, which is walking distance from the market. And I went upstairs and I told my ex-wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, I got a U-Haul truck out there. I'm gonna leave. She says, "What do you mean you want to leave?" I says, "I want to get out of here. I just want to change my life." And from that moment on, I stopped off in a motel in Maryland. And in the top drawer, my ex-wife followed with me. In the top drawer of the motel room was this Bible. A Bible to this day I still have, has signatures of my grandmother in it, because from that moment on, I read the Bible from the book of Genesis all the way to the book of Revelations. And the Holy Spirit came in my life. And I hate to sound this way because I'm not really one of these people who talks this way. God came into my life. And, 6, 7 years later, I was a licensed Series 763 stockbroker. I was approved by the National Association of Security Dealers. I flew with the owner of the brokerage firm. He sponsored me in a young felon program. I had to go in front of a board in the NASD. They allowed me to use my license with a supervising agent signing off on it. Funny story, we've traveled back from this meeting at the NASD. I got the approval, and the guy who had to sponsor me got arrested on the airplane for drinking and disorderly off the airplane. True story, but it just goes on. And from there, I never looked back.
Wow.
Really from there, it just, it became a wonderful, wonderful life and a great, great story to tell. And the hits just keep coming, honestly.
Chris, I had the privilege to actually meet a couple of your employees, and they all talk about one thing. And, I would like for you to share a little bit about that, because it is actually fascinated on how they talk about this all the time, which is in your meetings on how you read this book or how you read this
the scrolls.
So tell us a little bit about that, because again, like I said, I had the privilege to meet a couple of your employees, and they're all so fascinated about how dedicated you are on a daily basis about that.
So a book I would highly recommend, and I'm going to get into the story with the morning meetings. Book that I would highly recommend is a book by George S. Gleason called The Richest Man in Babylon. Now I learned about the book at the back of an Anthony Robbins book, a Tony Robbins book. He mentioned some other great reads and the Bible of every successful man. And that Bible of every successful man is The Richest Man in Babylon. So I started to follow the principles of The Richest Man in Babylon. And Allie, I teach this to all my employees too. 10% of what you earn is yours to keep. Most people don't realize it. And I've hired thousands of people here in South Florida, thousands. And that's not an exaggeration. I probably licensed over 1,000 people in the insurance industry. But the one thing I notice is whether you have an employee that makes $800 a week or an employee that makes $2,800 a week, if they're not living their life the right way, it's never enough money. They can always be broke, right? So, and you could do this with somebody. You could say, well, listen, you're in here, you're complaining about your paycheck. This is what your position warrants. It's an $800 a week salary, okay? But if I was to give you $1,200 a week, are you telling me you wouldn't have to come and borrow money from me? you wouldn't have these problems. Yeah. That's what I'm talking. Let's take the test. Let's do it. And it never fails. It's not the more money that helps them. It's how to live with the money they're receiving. So if you're able to survive living off of $800 a week and your paychecks one day later goes to $1,600 a week, people automatically living within their means of $1,600 a week. No, live a year or two like you're still at $800 a week. Pay yourself first. And when I say pay yourself first, doesn't mean you get to go run out and buy a new car or something that you wanted. Pay yourself first means take 10% of what you're earning. If it's $800, take $80 a week. If it's $1,600, take $160 a week and put it away. Now I have the employees that watch it start to pile up. And then they can't wait at the end of the year to buy a TV or to buy a car. I'm like, no. That's God's money. Put that aside. This is what the richest man in Babylon taught me. So I've always been a saver, okay? And I teach these things to my employees. But to get back to Allie's question, she's referencing one of my favorite books, a book called The Greatest Salesman in the World, okay? And back in 1997, 98, when I received my securities license, I wound up getting involved with a group of guys that created what we know today as a hedge fund. Mm-hmm. And I could get into it. It was involving day trading, and we would raise money and we were backing all the day traders, but I still had 300 employees. And every morning we had to get a rah thing going. So I got into these mornings by trying to do a couple different things. Number one, you want everybody's mind sharp. Most people, I believe in Vince Lombardi time, right? If I'm supposed to start at 8 o'clock, I start at 7:45. I'm there at 7:30. My day begins, and most people don't think that way. They walk through the door at 8 o'clock. They want to order breakfast. They think that your time that you're paying them, they're there to take care of themselves and get themselves ready. I always give a morning meeting because I want the cobwebs out of everyone's mouth, right? And one of the best ways to get the cobwebs out of their mouth is to make them stand up and read a chapter of a book. So every morning and if you know anything about The Greatest Salesman in the World, it's a book that consists of 10 scrolls. It tells a story of how these 10 scrolls will change your life if you follow the pattern. The pattern is you got to read each scroll for 30 consecutive days, and you got to read it 3 times a day. In the morning when you wake up, after you're partaking in your midday meal, and at night before you go to bed. And you do this every day for 30 days, and doctor, it becomes a habit. So you're creating all these great habits of the 10 scrolls. So I used to do this with my employees every day. We still do it to this day. And then tomorrow, a new scroll will begin when after the 30 days is up, and we continuously go through the scrolls. But I make Allie stand up, you're next. And she's like, scroll mark 3, I'll persist until I succeed. I was delivered into this world of defeat. I was not delivered into this world of defeat, nor this failure coursing these veins. I'm not a sheep waiting to be prodded by my shepherd. I'm a lion, and I refuse to walk. I refuse to talk. I refuse to sleep with the sheep. And then I call on somebody else, and they would take it over. And everybody got involved. It was great for the office to get involved in reading the scrolls. Everyone loved it. And at the end, everybody cheers, and we give a little morning prayer. We begin our day. That's how you run an office, and that's kind of what I become an expert at doing. So you asked, that's where we got to.
There's the cracking of the code.
I love it. I think it's powerful. I think it's something that every business owner should do. It's all about motivation and how you start your day. And like you said, at the end of the day, every employee, it's part of your company. So it is important to find out where they are, how they're starting their life, and teaching them at the end of the day, like you said, leave an $800, lifestyle if you're making 800. And then if you do make more, wait until it becomes a habit and it becomes a whole year, and then you can start living a different life. Powerful stuff.
If one conditions their mind, they can achieve anything. I've always believed in habit. Habit is what got me to where I am. I changed my habits, right? I changed who I was. I conform to it by just repetitiveness at always trying every day, trying to better my life. Here it is 30 years later. I don't know how to get rid of it if I wanted to. I jump up in the morning.
Well, Chris, that's actually going to bring me to our last question, because I can't wait to ask you this question, because, I've been listening to you, and it's already so motivating. It also, you talk about, yes, thank you, Jess. You also talk about, not able to read at an earlier age, then to actually reading thousands of books, and, and then all the knowledge and everything that you have gone through, through your childhood to where you are today. So I have to ask the question.
Sure.
Have you ever thought about writing your own book?
Yeah, there is a story that needs to be told. There is a movie that needs to be made, and I think it'll be the greatest selling movie. But not because it's about me, it's the content. The world needs to know of the content, right?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna, sorry to interrupt you. I was gonna tell you that one of the things that is like resonating with me significantly is the testimony.
Yes.
It's the testimony, because as you said, right, all of it occurred because of him in you, and the way that he has just, blessed and cultivated so much wisdom, right? I'll share like 2 seconds. Like you learned to read at 21, right? When people look at me, they're like, oh, they see the alphabet soup behind my name, and they think, oh my God, she must have, been really intelligent since a child. No, I had dyslexia. I couldn't read. I had learning disability all the way through. If we don't share these kinds of miraculous testimonies of how when Christ enters our lives, how they totally transform, right?
Yeah.
Then I think that we're not shining that light that he's asking us to. And timing, as Allie is saying, timing is everything, because the world has gone to hell in a handbasket right now.
I got to get working on it quickly then.
Yeah.
I get it.
And we might have the solution for you, but we're gonna get to that very soon. But Chris, if people want to get in touch with you, if they wanna get an advice from you, if they want to hear more from you, how can they reach you?
You could reach me, I guess, through my email, right? Which is kbaso@insurancelineone.com.
Great. But here we are once again interviewing.
And Allie.
I know.
Energy. It's like
I know
absorb it.
And I love it, and trust me, we're gonna be getting calls and calls after calls, Chris. People wanting to hear more and more, because you are definitely a huge entrepreneur in our community. You have a lot to offer, and yeah, I can't wait to read your book. I need details, but yes,
Giving feet to faith, right? Chris, thank you so much. We probably went over, but it's all good.
Okay, Jess. Thank
so
you.
worth it.
I'm sorry, guys. All right. I guess I'll see you guys soon.
Yeah.
Well, here we are again with one of the most successful people in our community to actually give us all their tools and all their insights and faith on how they made it to where they are today. And you keep hearing it, guys. This is something from, from people that actually didn't come from the best childhood. And we keep hearing it over and over and over. I hear more of how much do you really want it, right? Yeah. So here we are again on Clarity Talks. Thank you, Jessica. It's always a pleasure to be here with you on the show. Thank you, Chris. And we can't wait to invite you again so you can give us a little bit more tools, all right? Anytime. But until next time, we are on Clarity Talks.
Yes. See you next time. Take care.